Hi, everybody. My name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami, and welcome to the Camper Report Show.
In this Camper Report Show, we're going to talk about something that so many people are asking about: work camping. What is it and how you can be one? How about you, Bob?
I've got Marc and Julie Bennett. We haven't had them on for a while, and we're going to talk about their two best-selling books and lots of information for our consumer fans.
Great. All of that coming up right here. Where, Bob?
On the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everybody. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro, and his name is Bob Zagami, and we've got all the news of the week, courtesy from our friends at RV Business and Woodall's Campground Magazine. Bob, I read a story this week, and I know you know more of the details than I do, that KOA, our friends at KOA, we should have our yellow shirts on when we mention KOA.
That's right.
Their studies show that over 8 million Black households camped during 2021. That's a milestone number, isn't it?
It is. If you go back to 2017, it was 3.1 million. So each year it increases significantly, and 27% of the people in 2021 were new to camping. Mm-hmm. Brand new to it. So, the outreach from the industry association and Go RVing campaign to outreach to Blacks and Hispanics is truly working. And KOA did a very good job reporting it. They averaged 7.4 camping nights, and about 25%, I think it was 25%, were tent campers. No, 61% of the Black campers preferred tent camping over traditional lodging, other accommodations in the KOAs, but 46% take more than 3 camping trips a year. And a third of the Black campers plan to purchase an RV in 2022. So they're coming right into mainstream, and we welcome them into the industry.
That's a very interesting aspect of those stats, because we've said all along that if you can get people to a campground, whether they stay in a rented unit, a cabin, or a yurt, or tenting,
yep,
at least it gets them into smelling the campfire. You know what I mean? And those studies show that, what did you say, 20% plan on coming back with an RV?
Yeah, 27%, yeah.
Pretty amazing.
The other thing that was very interesting is 72% of the Black campers are either millennials or Gen Z. So we tend to talk about millennials and Gen Zs as the next generation of RVers. But interesting is 72% of the Black campers are in that same demographic. So the messaging of buying an RV, the family values, getting out to the campgrounds is resonating with everybody of all demographics.
Yep. Another interesting aspect, you said that their average stay is 7.2 days. That's a week long. That's an impressive length of stay.
And even though a lot of them are tenters right now, we love that, because many tenters become RVers when they just get tired of sleeping on the ground or camping in wet weather. Or
I was going to say the rain. The rain will get them
at
into
some
an
point.
RV.
They say, I don't want to do this anymore. I want one of those trailers or one of those motorhomes. So it's a good system for bringing newer people into RVing with trailers and motorhomes.
Yep, we've talked to many people that have been hooked on the campground experience, but said, I'm not sleeping on a stone anymore, and I'm not going to sleep in the rain. So you either get me an RV or I ain't going. So that was
it looks like about 50, 25, 35, 45, almost 50, almost 60% are camping in private campgrounds, national parks, state parks, municipal campgrounds. That's a pretty good number. So even with the tenting end of it, they're getting out there, and they're seeing, in those situations, they're seeing a lot of different types of RVs and a lot of different types of families, and they're mixing with those families in that environment. So they're seeing the tents, the motorhomes, the trailers, park models, and the like.
Yep. It's interesting, because there's another story I want to go into right away, but I wanted to use this background that I have today of an RV factory. because right now RV factories are booming and booming and booming because more and more people want to get into the RV lifestyle. However, at the same time, a study that I read is that more and more campgrounds are now building they're not just providing a hookup, water, sewer, and electricity, but they're providing a rental unit because so many people want to camp that demand behind us is not being able to be met. They want to camp, and they are finding that these either park models or rental units are being rented the entire time that the campground is open. Could you discuss that, please?
Yeah, I think one of the things that caused that was we saw it over the last 5 years, glamping tents come into play.
Yep.
And glamping tent typically is a tent on a wood platform.
Yep.
Out in the open. And they were in a more luxurious environment. And they had no problems getting $250, $260 a night. There are some campgrounds that were only glamping campgrounds. So they saw that and that people were willing to pay for that. So the campground said, well, why don't we give them their average accommodations that our normal customers are doing? They're coming here in a trailer. They're coming here in a destination trailer. Let's make that available. So if they're not ready to buy an RV yet, it's a great time to get out to the campground. Maybe you go camping with one of your friends that does have an RV, but you rent the park model or you rent the destination camper. So you get them involved in that. And the same thing with the Black families. If you know a local Black family that wants to get used to or get exposed to camping in general, that's a great way to do it also before they make an investment in an RV.
Yep.
And many campgrounds are opening up sections of park models. I expect the park model sales to significantly increase next year and the year after as these campgrounds develop separate sections. So they may have their regular campground for the tents and the transients that come in, weekly or a couple of nights a week. And then they'll have park models that they'll turn into seasonal rentals or destination trailers.
Yeah, well, we know our friends up at Bailey's in Maine, in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, always have a set of at least 20 or 30 brand new, not park models, but travel trailers that they put on site. They even have the deck on them. And so many families, what we found 2 years ago when we were there, that there were families that were renting the rental units that came with other families that already owned their RVs.
Right.
And the other area that reason that that's going big is that there are people that come from a city environment, a metro environment, that are never going to own an RV because they have nowhere to store it. And you know what? Still want to get out into the great outdoors and enjoy that. As Jim Rogers, former president of KOA, said, the magic that's in that campfire.
Well, and I think that's another place where the industry should do more advertising. When you look at the big cities and the problems, the criminal activities, the looting, then, why wouldn't you want to go to a campground on a weekend or a week's vacation? You're not going to do that. And if we can't get a control on that from a society standpoint, there's going to be more people camping, more people going out on the weekends or long weekends just to get away from that environment in the city themselves.
There we go.
Yep.
Camping continues to grow. RV units continue to rise, and people have fun. And with that being said, let's welcome our guest to the next segment when we have two great segments right here. Where, Bob?
On the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everyone.
Mike here from RV Blogger. Don't waste hundreds of dollars on an external GPS for your RV. All you need to do is download the RV Life app right onto your phone. This app is so cool. It has RV GPS built right into it. So you can load all the specific measurements and weights for your RV. It'll give you directions safe for your RV to follow. And by the way, if you have RV Trip Wizard, directions for your trips upload into this GPS automatically.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Camper Report Show. And my guests today are good friends, Marc and Julie Bennett from RV Love. And I'll tell you a funny story. I ran into Marc and Julie at the Tampa Super Show. We're going to spend more time together on this interview than we spent at the Tampa Super Show because it was so crowded and they had a busy schedule and I had a busy schedule. So welcome back.
That was so funny, but we saw you just from a distance. I remember waving to you like 3 separate areas. We just crossed paths, but that was it. Didn't even say a word hardly.
It was truly insane. Hey, let's start off by talking about RV hacks, and that was your book that was out last year, and you probably have it right there. Tell us how great and successful it's been, because I know your first one, Living the RV Life, was off the charts, and I suspect you got the same results this time around.
Yeah, in fact, we really are, Bob. And I think part of it, that RV Hacks is just even more broad of an audience. And so it's actually already outselling our first book. This book is really lighting on fire. I think it's just simple and it applies to every RVer out there. So I think people are loving it. We're getting tons of great feedback, tons of great reviews on it. And I think it's just simple, easy, and there's something in there for everybody to enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, it was
an easy read.
Yeah, it was an easy read, and you had a lot of input from some other people and consumers, that other tips, and these are real world. These are things that work for everybody, and they worked for everybody, and they can work for everybody that picks up the book. That's just incredible.
What we're finding too is a lot of people are buying several copies and then they'll give them away to people as they meet, especially if they meet new RVers that are, just learning things, and just helps shorten the learning curve so much. And that's really fun whenever we hear that people say, yeah, you need this. And then it just shows how generous the RV community is trying to help each other out.
Yep. Now that kind of leads into the other thing I want to talk to you about, but you're still on a nice road trip from Colorado east, and you rented a Class C from a friend of yours. Tell us about the journey and where you are in your own RV status.
Well, this is actually super fun for us, Bob, because we love trying all the different aspects of the RV life. We love it. We've been living the RV life for 7 years now, but we hadn't tried this style. We talk a lot about this style to other people, but this was our first time to really immerse in it. And so we're doing the Class C RV with just e-bikes on the back, and it's been so fun and nimble because we can take this anywhere. We parked it downtown Key West, in fact, but we're been able to find a place to park it almost everywhere we go. And then if we want to just get really nimble, then we take the e-bikes, and that's been super fun for us too.
And we've been staying at a lot of places with great biking trails. So that's been really fun about this trip. I think we've done more biking on this trip than any other trip since in all of our travels, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Because Marc finally got an e-bike. I've been at him for years to get an e-bike.
Yeah. It's been a fun, nimble style.
Yeah. Are you seeing more e-bikes? It seems like they're coming of age in the RV industry. I know at our own RV show in Boston, we had a couple of vendors, but they're out there, and it's such a great alternative mode of transportation for people. Your testimony to that in your own travels, but are you also seeing other people, or are you the only people on the bike track with any bike trail with an e-bike?
We're seeing a lot.
Yeah, there's so, and I think I totally get why. Yeah, because there's a lot of different styles, but I just think that what's great about them is that it allows an equalizer. Like we went for a bike ride with some friends a couple of days ago, and it was about 25 miles. And if you're not a cyclist, 25 miles would be intimidating, and it would be difficult to have everybody on the same pace. And we were able to start the ride and say, hey, what do you want to do today? Oh, we'll just average 12 miles an hour. And so we could all have speedometers, and we would just consistently stay there. And no matter how hard you pushed, if someone wants to work harder, they use less electricity. If they want to not work as hard, they use more.
And we don't have to say, how fit are you, or how far do you like to travel? You don't have to worry about if there are any hills or mountainous terrain on your travels. It's just, you can just go. And then, I used to have trouble keeping up because Marc's a really good cyclist. And so we didn't go out biking together too much.
No,
but now we can just jump on and go. And it's been a blast. We've done probably 100 miles since Christmas.
Yeah,
almost 100 miles since Christmas on e-bikes.
And it's also good if you have different degrees of physical aptitude in terms of somebody that may not be an outdoor enthusiast but wants to go on the electric bike. So like you say, you can set the stage and you can both be equal and enjoy the trip.
Well, I think one of the things when I first got it, and we did a video back in, I think, gosh, it was 2018, and it was just so fun. And I said, it's brought the joy of biking back to me, because I'm not a strong cyclist. And so the idea of getting hot or sweaty or having to pedal uphill and work too hard was not my idea of fun. And so I don't have to worry about that. And so that's what's so fun for me. And I think we've heard from a lot of people that might have had surgery, or they've got a bad knee or something, and all of those limitations that would get in the way of them biking, that this helps them overcome that. And I hadn't thought about that before, but some people have been recovering from heart surgery, or hip or knees or whatever happens, that you can still get out there and enjoy the outdoors. And when you're traveling as an RVer, you don't necessarily know what kind of terrain you're going to encounter. I mean, it's mostly flatland in Florida, but if you get out into the mountainous states, you just don't know and you don't want to have to research it too much. And you don't have to.
Okay, so you went from Colorado all the way to Key West.
Yep.
No, that was something.
We were able to.
Now,
We were able to land a couple weeks in Key West, which is pretty great. So we were able to use our 1,000 Trails membership, and we had a couple weeks down there right around Christmas time and New Year's, which is pretty awesome. And then, we've been down there a couple times in our other coach, but it's just a really amazing place to be that time of year. The weather's like 80 every day, 75 at night.
It was so good.
You step out of the coach in shorts and t-shirt, you don't ever look at the temperature, it's the same. So it's kind of funny.
Well, I'll tell you, since I've been in Florida, I think I've had long pants on 3 days. It's
We had some cold days though. There were a couple of cold days.
We had a couple. Yeah.
But if you're from Maine, you build that thick blood. They're fine. You're shorts no matter what.
So how did you find the parks recovering from the hurricane? I know it was a slow recovery for a lot of them, but was the Key West all the way back to normal and flooded with people, or are they still trying to rebuild some places?
I would say they're mostly done there now. I mean, I know the resort that we stayed is Sunshine Key RV Resort. It's on Big Pine Key, and that's, as Mark said, part of our 1,000 Trails membership. And so that was closed, I think, just for one winter of 2017. But this is the first time that we've been able to get in there actually at all, because they're so popular. And it's a beautiful resort now, and it's right on the water there. It's really, really beautiful. And we also, on our way down to Key West one day, they've just reopened the KOA at Sugarloaf Key, which we've heard great things about. And I think it was beautiful. So they allowed us to have a drive around and just take a look. It was beautiful. But I tell you, they're expensive, those sites now. They're, retail prices on those are over $200 a night. Still cheaper than a hotel room, but then you still have to dump your tanks.
I would imagine. Well, what were some of the other things that you observed on this trip that the RV lifestyle is changing so much, since COVID hit, in terms of how people use them, how they buy them? 50% of the people are still first-time buyers that never had an RV, never had a campground. You've been out there for 7 years now. What changes did you see this trip that were significant?
We definitely are seeing some people that seem like they're new to the block, but there's a lot of families, because I think with all this remote work, it's opening the door for so many people to go out and travel. And it is a little tougher to get some bookings, but Julie's really good at it. After all the years, she's able to find us places to stay all the time. It takes some persistence.
I think it's always been tough getting into Florida in the winter, in particular. This year is definitely off the charts more difficult. We arrived at one RV resort, I think it was Fort Myers RV Resort, because we had some friends staying there, and we just managed to get a week there, which I think I booked it back in November. And when we pulled up, we literally got it was literally the worst side in the campground. But I called them, I said, is there anything else? I said, no, that's it. We've turned away 400 to 500 people this week. That week they had turned away people trying to make reservations.
People.
400 to 500 in that week for that one park. And it wasn't anything special. Believe me, it was on Tamiami Trail. It was very busy. We were right on the campsite, practically on the highways.
I think I know the one. Is it just before you go over the bridge down by the water?
Oh, I don't think it was quite that close.
No, I think that's another one that you
Yeah,
Okay.
but it
Not
was
this one.
Yeah.
it was at the back of the park is not too bad, but yeah, it was shocking to me. They turned away 400 to 500 that week. And we've heard that Florida is very overbooked this winter, and there's actually availability in Texas and Arizona and even California, but Florida for some reason is off the charts. And I don't know, maybe it's the Tampa show that brings everyone in, or maybe they just see that everyone's out there having a good time in Florida.
Tampa did break a record this year. They had 84,600 people in 5 days, and the previous record was about 75,000. And there were people everywhere, and they used every square inch of the state fairgrounds down there. But
what I thought was amazing about that, Bob? Sorry to talk over you.
Yeah.
What I thought was amazing about that is that the weather on Saturday was not great, and then Sunday was a playoff game that Florida was playing in. So those are two big hits to drive traffic to the attendance, but to still break a record like that shows how hot RVing is right now.
I think I spoke to Dave Kelly while I was down there. I spent 3 days up there early in the week, and if they didn't have the bad weather on Saturday and Sunday, they probably would have broken 100,000 people.
I think they would have.
And we've never had.
It would have been good weather, and they didn't have that game.
Right, we've never had a consumer show with 100,000 people. That's just exemplary of what is going on in this industry today.
Yeah.
How about we don't want to talk negative, but the real world is positives to everything. There's negative. What were you seeing out on the road that you didn't like?
Well, one thing I noticed that I think is the negative with the enormous popularity of RVing right now is that it's really difficult to get service. I mean, we've been having a tough time with that. So it really pays to be handy. I've ended up having to do all of them myself. But a lot of the RV repair shops we've been talking to are booked 2 and 3 months out. That's a long time to wait, especially if you have something fairly urgent like we did. So it was that's definitely the downside of the popularity right now, is that the service industry has not been able to keep up with the sales of the interest of the RV space.
And that was a problem even before COVID hit, and it just took off even more. I mean, that was always a problem. There's now one RV tech for every 4,000 RVs on the road. The math will tell you this is not sustainable.
It was selling 500, 600,000 RVs. Keep in mind, just take the last 2 years, we sold over 1 million new RVs.
That's new RVs.
New
and
RVs.
Look at all the used RVs that are sold as well.
Right. And if the numbers are right, and they are, when I talk to our dealers, over 50% are new. That means we got 500,000 people out there who've never been camping. So they don't know anything about the RV. They don't know anything about the campground, and they have to learn that. And they do have to be handy. And I think more consumers are going to have to step up and take some of these training courses at RVTI or NRVTA or the home study courses, online streaming from Marc and Don Polk at RV Education 101. They've got to invest in their investment.
Yeah, I love you say that, Bob, because I agree totally that a lot of the reasons, because it's really wonderful to be able to do the repairs yourself, but that education will also help you avoid having it break in the first place, because you're properly maintaining it and knowing how to use it. The user error and the improper maintenance are a big part of why these rigs are ending up in the shop in the first place. So if you can avoid that, all the better. You can then be a happy camper because you're not having to shop
happier camper. Because 80% of RV repairs, apparently 80% can be fixed by the RVer without having to take it into a shop. And it's a very small price to pay and a very small amount of time, relatively speaking. I mean, I just think about how much time I spent calling 6 shops trying to get our RV in at Fort Myers. And then we spent a whole day without the RV. And then all the time I spent with emails and phone calls. And it was so much more than the amount of time it actually took for you to make the repairs.
Well, yeah, that was the frustrating part, is Julie spent more time trying to get an appointment than it took me to do the repair.
And liaising with them.
But we were trying to use, we're renting this rig from someone else who has an extended warranty and wanted us to use that. So we were encouraged to try and use that warranty in a shop instead of having me do it. But we just couldn't get in. In fact, we did all the research, diagnosed the problems, including getting all the part numbers 2 weeks in advance so that they could order parts, have it in stock to do the repair. We showed up and left it with them all day. At the end of the day, they come back and say, "Oh yeah, we diagnosed your problem. These are the problems." I'm like, "I told you that 2 weeks ago. I thought you
This
were
was an
repairing it
urgent
today.
repair.
But they didn't. And so that was really frustrating, because it's frustrating for us for multiple reasons. One, because we lost all that time, but two, they lost all the time of those techs and all those people in the service bay that didn't actually do a repair. And so that's just compounding the problem that their inefficient process is actually making their techs even less efficient when their demand is beyond
And
what
they
they
didn't
can
make
do.
any money.
And
They didn't make any money.
Right, exactly. Less revenue. If it
Complete
takes
waste.
2 days to do something that you would allow them to do in 1 day because you did half their job for them, that's crazy. Well, Julie and I were talking earlier today. One of the things, and Julie, you're very good at explaining this, explain why the consumers have to do their own homework. Now, you wrote the first book for them, Living the RV Life. There's a lot of hints in there. Now you got RV hacks, but explain the importance to the consumers of doing their own homework, whether it's buying it or renting it or fixing it or whatever.
Well, just being an educated consumer in general. And I think, one of the things that we saw at the show, and you saw this too, Bob, is the prices of RVs that are so high. And, we've done a lot of little video tours. Mark's been doing a blog post that we're getting ready to put out. And in doing Mark's research, he found that the sticker price on the RVs that would have the MSRP, and then that have the show special price. And what did you find? A lot of the time, not all the time. But.
Yeah, it was interesting to me, because on the website of the manufacturer, the MSRP might be, say 100, let's say it's 80,000, but at the show they'd say that it was MSRP was 95,000, but the show special price was 77,000. So basically they inflated the price, but then discounted it, quote unquote, to what the MSRP is. And so being an educated consumer could, save you a ton of money there, but also just, what we just talked about with the repairs, being the educated consumer, knowing what you're getting into, understanding what the RV lifestyle is like and what it's going to be like to maintain, and being well prepared is going to set you up for success, so you don't regret things and make any mistakes.
And RVs, I mean, in a normal environment, I hope everybody watching or listening to this realizes we are not in a normal environment right now. I mean, RVs, anything with wheels depreciates, boats, motorcycles, cars, boats aren't on wheels, cars, motorcycles, RVs.
They are if you try and remove
they depreciate too. Yeah. But everything depreciates, and we're in a very unusual climate right now where people are selling new or used. Well, once it's new, once you've used it, it's not new anymore. RVs at a premium, very often for more than what you've sold, or at least very close. Yeah. That's very unusual. And then, buying an RV, and then especially if you finance it and you're paying, the tax, and then you've got that interest payments, we just don't know what is ahead with the economy. But I think just for buyers to realize, don't get this false sense of security that your RV is always going to be worth more, because
that's good.
I don't know. We could all be heading for a bit of a lot of RVs.
We'll have to see. That's great advice. Our guest tonight is Marc and Julie Bennett, authors of Living the RV Life and RV Hacks, and we'll put all that information up about the books and where they can get them, and where they can follow you guys on rvlove.com. But thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you down the road, and hopefully more than just a wave in the trade show.
Hopefully so.
The show.
But at least we always have
the other side of the aisle. Huh?
It's great to see you,
catch
Bob.
up with you, Bob.
Right. Always a pleasure.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye now.
Bye.
I'm Jesse from Outsiders Calling, and I love adventurous family travel with my wife Jenny and our son Tucker.
For over 3 years, we've RV'd across the U.S. and Mexico, and it's tough to find places that meet all our needs.
Now we plan our trips with the RV Trip Wizard. Pull it up in the RV Life app, select it, and go.
It helps us discover amazing new places to grow together as a family.
RV Trip Wizard with the RV Life app is an awesome trip planning combination.
You can get both for one low annual price. Check out rvlife.com to learn more.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Camper Report Show. And in the past year and a half or so, almost coming up on 2 years right now, there have been so many new people coming into camping. And we always like to welcome them, but we want to let them know that there are so many opportunities out there for camping if you want to make some money, or camp for reduced prices or whatever. So what we did is we scoured the entire United States and came across one of the foremost experts on work camping. And we're talking with her now. Her name is Michelle Burton, and she is speaking to us from Wading Pines Camping Resort, Michelle? Campground, however you want to call it. But she's in southern New Jersey. And Michelle, welcome to the Camp Report Show.
Thanks, John. I love the introduction saying that I'm an expert.
Well, you know what? As long as you know a little bit more than the person that you're telling it about, you're considered the expert. But Michelle, tell us a little bit about your campground, where you're located, where the people come from, and how big it is, so people kind of get an idea of what your background is.
We're located in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. Our campground is 55 acres. So we have 300 sites with including 16 cabins. All the sites are RV sites, so they're water electric, and then some of them have full hookup. My work campers come from all over the place. This year I've got a family coming from Portland, Oregon to join us in April. I've got people that have come from Texas, Indiana, all over the place.
Oh, great. So it is a national operation.
Yeah.
It clicked a little bit when you said how many sites there were. Could you tell us that number again?
300 campsites.
Okay, 300 campsites. So that's a good size. That's a good size facility. So at any one time, if you're filled up on a weekend, you could have 1,500 to 2,000 people in there.
Correct. Yes.
Exactly.
You definitely can.
Exactly. So define work camper, Michelle, because a lot of people, hear that word and really are confused by it. But for your place in Jersey, tell us the definition that you have of what a work camper is.
I really think it boils down to a work camper would be in the same vein as an adventurer. They've decided to break off from the mainstream of, I guess, like a static location where you're just in one spot and you go to one job every day and you have your set of neighbors that you know and all your friends there. An adventurer is broken out of that mold and chosen to travel wherever the breeze leads and find work and meet new people and experience new things. That, to me, is a very special individual. Hard workers, because they're doing what they love. So when you do what you love,
it's not work.
It's not work.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as compensation, I was going to say remuneration, but that's too much of a technical word. As far as compensation, do they pay a reduced price for their campsite? Do they camp for free? Do they get paid? How does that work in your particular place?
We do a salary or hourly salary, depending on what the local wages during that year, et cetera. And then for my work campers, their site is included, their electric, water, all that cable, everything's included for them. Because they're living here, and I don't feel it appropriate to charge them to stay on site work. You know what I mean?
So basically, they're living at no cost.
Yeah.
And they're making money when they work. Now, do you pick husband and wives only? Is it singles? Who's out there today as a work camper?
I've got everybody. I've got couples, we've got singles, and we've got families.
Okay. How about the age factor? Is that much of an issue?
Let's see. I guess 16. No, one of my youngest work campers is 14, and then all the way up to probably in their 60s. Yeah.
Okay. How about the type of jobs that they would do at your place, Michelle? What do you have them doing?
Everything that you could do at a campground. You clean bathrooms, you work in the office, you run the gate, they do repairs out there and maintenance, all kinds of stuff. We do canoes out here, so there's some transportation stuff that happens. Yeah.
A wide variety of different things. So
Yep.
People call a campground and say they want to hear more about it. Do they kind of tell you what they'd like to do? Because there are some people, say they have great carpentry and electrician skills. Why utilize their services at the front desk when they can be doing something that's more suited to them? Is that right? You kind of like fit the people to their backgrounds?
Yeah, you ask them what they, everybody's got a job they want to do in mind. You don't go and say, hey, I want to be your on-site electrician when you're good at cleaning a pool, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's got their own thing, and it's just finding out where they want to be and where it makes them happiest, what they're good at, and giving them a little bit of training when they need it.
Right. Now, in your particular case, how many repeat people do you have? Do you get the same people that come back every year, or do they kind of change as they move from place to place?
Yeah, it changes from year to year. Up here in Jersey, you get a lot of people that have family nearby, so they want to come up here during the year, and then in the off season, like right now when it's very cold outside, they go down to Florida, South Carolina, or back home to wherever they're from, and then come back. Over the last couple of years, I've had a few people that filter out because they really are nomads and they want to move on year to year.
Mm-hmm.
I've got quite a few people that are coming back year after year.
Okay. Do you expect them to stay the whole season, or can they work for a month and move on? Or what's the best for the campground owner?
Working the season is best for a campground owner, unless it's not a good fit. And then you come to that decision on its own.
On its own, it kind of they weed themselves out.
Yes.
From that particular thing. So this coming season coming up in the summer of 2022, how many do you normally have on staff?
My normal staff is right around 26 people. I think about, let's see, 10 to 15 of those people, probably more along the lines of 15 of them are work campers. I have about 10 locals, and then there's, excuse me and my husband. And we're here, but we're not from here.
Okay. So about 15 work campers per season. Based on the other parks around you, when you talk with other people in the Northeast area, does that seem to be, again, I know it would be dependent on how big the park is, but does that seem to be a normal number of people that they'd have?
I can't really say what everybody else has. I know my buddy down the road, he might have a couple of work campers, but they have a smaller staff than we do. And I'm not quite sure what everybody else does. I know in like our forums and stuff, we've talked about it, and we're from California, and at our other properties, we had work campers, but over here, it's a little bit different, I think. A lot more local people are hired. And I think the other campground near us doesn't even have work campers, just hire all local.
Okay. So every park is going to be different.
Yeah.
And so is this the time now that you should be, again, people are viewing this video and they say, wow, that sounds interesting to me. For next season, again, obviously there are places that are open year round when you get to the southern places, but
yeah,
looking at the seasonal places, is now the time to apply and send your credentials in, or wait till February, or how early should you be showing interest?
Me personally, I know at the end of the season who's coming back and what positions I need to fill for, or what positions I want to fill for. So around October, I kind of have an idea of how next season is going to go. But I'm always looking at email and trying to cull resumes out of it and stick it over here in this little spot where I hold these people at and contact them, say, hey, what are your interests? I'll email them back real quick. What kind of rig do you have? What are you thinking? Have you worked in these temperatures before? That kind of stuff. Kind of get an idea of like, do you know how, is this going to be hard for you?
Okay.
From the quick rapid fire, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So we should say that this is for people that already have campers. These are not people that want to camp for free and stay in a cabin at your place. These are people that own their own rigs, that are self-contained, and they want to work and stay in an area, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the last question I have is, when people are working, they're working. So they have a schedule, just like a regular job. It's not like they're on call 24/7, right?
Right.
So they can work Monday through Friday, and then if they want to get out of there for a weekend, or whatever the time frame is, they're still free to come and go as they please, as they would in a regular job during their non-work hours.
So I ask everybody at the beginning of the season, hey, what are your days off you want to be? I got one lady, she's got a grandson around, and so her daughter are around here, so she wants to have like her daughter's days off, or maybe her work days to watch the grandson or something like that. I got another guy that has like another like a girlfriend down here, and so he wants to have her days off. So everybody gets their own days off. Couples can have excuse me, their days off together, or they can work opposite if they don't want to hang out with their spouse on their days off, and it's a regular job. You work your allotted time and then you're off.
Perfect. Hey, we want to thank you so much for letting us in on the basics of Work Camping 101. Our guest has been Michelle Burton from Wading Pines in New Jersey. And I think, Michelle, the number one word in campground titles is pines. There's whispering pine, there's wading pines, there's silent pines, there's breezy pines, but there are pines everywhere. And we want to thank you so much for taking time from your busy day. People should realize that you just don't start work in April and end in October, but you're working harder or just as hard during the off season, getting everything ready. And, but for work campers, hey, seasonal work, and it can be very, very rewarding. And Michelle, we want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you, John. It was great to be here, and I look forward to more interactions.